Mysterious gates suddenly appeared, unleashing terrifying monsters and plunging the entire world into chaos. Hunters awakened with mysterious powers, fighting relentlessly to restore order and protect humanity. Hunters advanced from 1 star to 9 star, while 7 great houses rose to dominate the world. One extraordinary man became history's first natural 9-star hunter, shocking the entire world. The 7 great houses branded him a dangerous threat, determined to erase his existence forever. Soon, Seoul erupted into flames as relentless destruction spread across the entire city. The mighty Romanov house unleashed overwhelming force, leaving countless innocent lives buried beneath the ruins. They sacrificed an entire metropolis, hunting one extraordinary 9-star hunter at any cost. Bleeding heavily, he clutched a mysterious pocket watch while struggling to stay conscious. Every painful breath reminded him the relentless battle had pushed him beyond his limits. Despite his devastating injuries, he forced himself forward, refusing to collapse before his enemies. Consumed by rage, he swore vengeance against Dmitry Romanov, setting the stage for retribution. A hooded elder calmly descended, confronting the wounded hunter amid Seoul's burning ruins. The legendary 9-star hunter, Dmitry Romanov, acknowledged his unprecedented strength despite lacking any blessing. Desperate for answers, the battered hunter demanded to know why they wanted him dead. Dmitry admitted both his defiance and blessingless power threatened the great house's absolute rule. Dmitry revealed the constellations ordered his execution to preserve their absolute control over humanity. They feared a blessingless hunter's existence would shatter the authority of both houses and constellations. Unfazed by their twisted logic, Jujin dismissed their justification as completely absurd. Dmitry declared Jujin's necromancy disrupted nature itself, making his death an unavoidable necessity. Dmitry claimed the constellation's overwhelming power made Jujin's defeat absolutely inevitable. Jujin mocked his confidence, insisting Odin's support was the only reason for his arrogance. Calmly rising despite his injuries, Jujin revealed he had merely waited for Dmitry to finish talking. Dark necromantic energy erupted as countless skeletal warriors answered their immortal king's command. A massive wave of dark energy engulfed the battlefield, shaking the ruined city to its core. Jujin unleashed his transcendent technique, creating a devastating death field fueled by his soul. Countless undead warriors rose from the darkness, assembling behind their immortal king once again. Unshaken, Dmitry prepared his ultimate spell, determined to erase Jujin from existence forever. Dmitry unleashed Odin's Eye, channeling the strongest blessing granted by the mighty constellation. Realizing its overwhelming power, Jujin knew his death field alone could never stop it. Dmitry completed his transcendent incantation, summoning the devastating technique, Lord of Vermilion. A blinding crimson sphere erupted with unimaginable power, signaling the beginning of their final clash. Dmitry unleashed the devastating Lord of Vermilion, sending a catastrophic blast toward Jujin. Facing certain death, Jujin smiled calmly, refusing to surrender until his final breath. Dmitry froze in confusion, unable to understand Jujin's fearless confidence before death. With perfect timing, Jujin activated the mysterious pocket watch, revealing his final gambit. Jujin revealed the pocket watch could manipulate time by absorbing a constellation's overwhelming power. As every activation condition was fulfilled, the ancient artifact finally began rewinding the timeline. Only a 9-star hunter could trigger its power, making Jujin's sacrifice absolutely essential. Lacking a blessing himself, Jujin stole Dmitry's constellation power to return to the past. The pocket watch absorbed Odin's blessing, disrupting Dmitry's ultimate attack at the final moment. Dmitry watched in disbelief as his constellation's power was forcefully stolen before his eyes. Jujin thanked Dmitry for the borrowed power, completing the artifact's impossible activation. Before time rewound, Jujin vowed to return and destroy Dmitry alongside the 7 great houses. The pocket watch completed its activation, as time itself began reversing before Jujin's eyes. A blinding flash consumed the battlefield, pulling Jujin away from his doomed future. Moments later, everything turned silent as the timeline completely reset to the past. Jujin suddenly awakened in his younger body, gasping as he realized the rewind had succeeded. Jujin awoke in shock, his racing heartbeat confirming the impossible journey through time. A quick glance around revealed the familiar apartment he had left years ago. Recognizing every corner, he realized he had truly returned to his younger life. Clutching the pocket watch, Jujin confirmed his gamble had succeeded, giving him a second chance. Remembering his brutal death, Jujin swore vengeance against Dmitry and every great house. The damaged pocket watch revealed it could never rewind time again within this timeline. Despite its shattered condition, the legendary relic had successfully granted him a second chance. Smiling confidently, Jujin realized his desperate gamble had paid off beyond every expectation. Jujin realized he had returned 23 years, arriving on the day his journey truly began. The system appeared once again, displaying his basic stats and unique clear mind trait. Given another chance, he carefully reviewed the 3 starting classes before making any decision. Remembering his past mistakes, Jujin resolved to choose wisely and reshape his entire future. Jujin decided to delay choosing a class, focusing first on growing stronger and surviving. Armed with knowledge from his previous life, he prepared to change his fate from the very beginning. His first destination was the Yongsan Hunter Market, where new opportunities awaited his arrival. Stepping inside the bustling market, Jujin received a warm welcome as his new journey began. Ignoring ordinary weapons, Jujin searched for the legendary Ring of Darkness from his memories. The shopkeeper stood speechless, stunned that someone knew the cursed relic even existed. Without hesitation, Jujin asked only for its price, already knowing exactly what he needed. Leaving the shop, he continued through the hunter market, searching for the next piece of his plan. Ignoring every warning, Jujin insisted on buying the cursed Ring of Darkness without hesitation. Though infamous for endless debuffs, Jujin knew the seemingly worthless ring concealed a priceless secret. The system confirmed the ring's curse, but Jujin remained completely confident in his decision. Slipping the ring onto his finger, Jujin prepared to unlock the hidden power within. Jujin remembered the Ring of Darkness granted necromancer powers only to those who conquered its curse. Without fear, he embraced the overwhelming curse, trusting the knowledge from his previous life. Darkness swallowed his surroundings as the ring dragged his consciousness into a mysterious realm. Standing alone before the looming curse, Jujin prepared to face its terrifying trial. The curse manifested as Odin, the mighty constellation whose blessing empowered Dmitry Romanov. Odin condemned Jujin as a cursed necromancer, declaring him an enemy of every constellation. He mocked Jujin's blessingless existence, insisting he could never challenge divine authority. With overwhelming divine pressure, Odin prepared to crush Jujin before the true trial even began. Odin declared that turning back time would never save Jujin from his inevitable defeat. A divine spear of golden light crashed downward, carrying the overwhelming judgment of a constellation. Instead of panicking, Jujin calmly recalled his unique trait, immune to every mental attack. The system instantly blocked Odin's interference, leaving Jujin smiling with complete confidence. Jujin's clear mind trait granted complete immunity, effortlessly resisting Odin's overwhelming mental assault. The illusion shattered instantly as Jujin successfully passed the Ring of Darkness's deadly trial. With the curse conquered, the ring awakened its hidden necromancer power at last. Thanks to clear mind, Jujin became the first necromancer capable of wielding the ring's true power. Jujin realized he could now forge a constellation contract without relying on any blessing. Determined to rewrite fate, he resolved to create a constellation that would serve as his necromancer patron. The Ring of Darkness evolved into a unique epic relic, fully awakening its hidden necromancer power. Realizing his gamble had succeeded, Jujin smiled, knowing his future had completely changed. The system unlocked a new class option, allowing Jujin to finally choose necromancy. After selecting necromancy, Jujin obtained the legendary death trait, marking the beginning of his new destiny. Dark necromantic energy surged around Jujin as his newly awakened powers fully manifested. He unlocked Commander of Death, greatly reducing the cost of maintaining summoned undead. Satisfied with his progress, Jujin acknowledged his powerful new beginning with quiet confidence. Reviewing his status, Jujin noticed only 2 skills had unlocked, leaving greater potential ahead. Jujin unlocked 2 basic necromancy skills, realizing he had to rebuild his strength from scratch. Although he remembered advanced necromancy, the system still required every skill to be earned again. He understood following the system alone would never be enough to reach the legendary 9-star realm. Determined to surpass his previous life, Jujin prepared to forge an even stronger path forward. To defeat Dmitry, Jujin realized he first needed to forge a contract with a powerful constellation. With a clear destination in mind, he traveled toward the legendary Temple of Cronus. Countless hunters gathered there, seeking the opportunity to earn a constellation's recognition. Jujin recalled that the surviving Olympian gods still existed as powerful constellations awaiting worthy successors. Jujin ignored the surviving Olympian constellations, searching instead for someone history had forgotten. Standing before an abandoned altar, He revealed his true destination with unwavering confidence. Holding Cronus's shattered pocket watch, Yujin confirmed its owner was no ordinary constellation. He raised the ancient relic, determined to awaken and meet the fallen constellation, Cronus. Yujin smashes the ancient altar, forcing Cronus's pocket watch to unleash a dimensional gateway. The activated pocket watch tears open space, transporting Yujin into Cronus's hidden celestial sanctuary. A magnificent temple materializes beyond the swirling portal, revealing an ancient realm beyond reality. Yujin arrives inside the mysterious sanctuary, ready to seek a fallen constellation's power. Yujin enters the sanctuary as a mysterious voice demands to know the intruder's identity. He calmly mocks the ancient being, showing no fear before its overwhelming presence. A colossal spectral figure appears, furious that a mere human dares insult him. Yujin smirks confidently, proving he already expected this legendary encounter. Yujin confidently greets Cronus, revealing he already knows the Titan King's true identity. Cronus silently studies Yujin, sensing the human possesses impossible knowledge beyond his era. Yujin tightly grips the broken pocket watch, concealing the secret behind his return. Cronus immediately realizes the truth, questioning whether Yujin has traveled back through time. Yujin casually confirms he traveled through time, leaving the awakened Titan King visibly intrigued. Cronus admits Yujin's extraordinary destiny alone justifies awakening the forgotten fallen god. Yujin recalls Cronus's tragic past, abandoned after Zeus overthrew the Titans and erased his legacy. He realizes Cronus secretly longs to escape endless isolation and reclaim his forgotten existence. Yujin tempts Cronus with revenge, offering a chance to reclaim everything the Titans lost. Cronus freezes in disbelief, stunned that a mere human dares mention vengeance. Yujin proposes forging a constellation contract, promising to help Cronus overthrow Olympus. Enraged yet intrigued, Cronus demands whether Yujin truly believes such an impossible ambition. Yujin declares he once reached 9 stars alone, making Zeus his ultimate revenge target. He reveals the 7 great houses abandoned humanity, forcing ordinary people into hopeless despair. Yujin vows to destroy House Caramanlis, stripping the constellations of their worldly influence. Amused by Yujin's ruthless ambition, Cronus praises his relentless thirst for vengeance. Cronus reveals Yujin's path already aligns with his forgotten authority over time and death. Yujin explains their opposing natures now perfectly complement each other's shared ambitions. Cronus's authority as the harvester governs time itself, choosing worthy hunters through fate. The Grim Reaper's power mirrors Cronus, both commanding death while defying the universe's natural order. Furious, Cronus accuses Yujin of twisting his divine authority into forbidden necromantic power. The ancient sanctuary trembles violently as Cronus's overwhelming aura shakes the entire temple. Unfazed, Yujin reminds Cronus that history has already erased his name and influence. Yujin challenges Cronus to remain forgotten forever, forcing the fallen Titan to confront reality. Yujin warns that rejecting revenge means remaining forgotten by the Olympian constellations forever. He urges Cronus to become his patron, promising they can destroy Olympus together. Despite mounting pressure, Yujin steels his resolve, knowing convincing Cronus is his only chance. Cronus quietly chuckles, intrigued by Yujin's unwavering determination and impossible proposal. Impressed by Yujin's resolve, Cronus offers a trial to prove his worthiness as a successor. Cronus warns that reversing time defies the natural order and carries unbearable consequences. Golden divine power gathers as Cronus prepares the ultimate trial that will decide Yujin's fate. Cronus promises to become Yujin's patron only if he survives the impossible divine ordeal. The divine sanctuary trembles violently as Cronus begins the long-awaited trial without any hesitation. Yujin panics briefly before Cronus appoints him as both his divine agent and saint. Golden authority descends upon Yujin, marking the beginning of Cronus's overwhelming blessing. Stunned by the unexpected title, Yujin realizes the true trial has only just begun. Cronus appoints Yujin as both his saint and agent, unleashing overwhelming divine power. Divine energy clashes violently with necromantic power, pushing Yujin to his absolute limit. Enduring unbearable pain, Yujin refuses to collapse, determined to secure Cronus's patronage. Cronus silently watches Yujin endure the brutal trial, judging whether he truly deserves his blessing. Yujin forces himself awake, enduring the trial until Cronus finally accepts him as his patron. Returning to reality, Yujin calmly leaves the temple, dragging his suitcase toward the exit. He steps outside with renewed confidence, carrying both newfound power and unwavering determination. Smiling with satisfaction, Eugen feels relieved to be back in Korea, ready for his next move. Back in Korea, Eugen notices the world has changed while Cronus's spirit follows him. Cronus casually claims time means nothing, floating beside Eugen as they leave together. A system notification announces the birth of the divine star, Heaven's giant defiant. Annoyed by Cronus's non-stop chatter, Eugen wonders whether the god has always talked this much. Eugen realizes Cronus cannot grant blessings yet because he has no devoted worshippers. Cronus reveals the system restored him, giving him another chance to reclaim lost divinity. Delighted by his resurrection, Cronus proudly celebrates returning after countless years of dormancy. Cronus urges Eugen to spread his name, but Eugen points out the impossible situation they created together. Cronus reveals his saint class merged with necromancy, transforming Eugen into a unique divine necromancer. The system grants Constellation of the White Knight, boosting divine spells without weakening necromancy. Eugen gains the White Knight bonus trait, freely converting divine and spiritual power. The new trait lets him wield both divine and magical equipment, greatly expanding his combat potential. Eugen unlocks Life Drain, absorbing enemies' life force to strengthen his body and powers. White Knight bridges divine and spiritual power, allowing both energies to coexist perfectly. Realizing the synergy, Eugen discovers he can freely use necromancy and divine abilities together. Cronus proudly reveals he chose Eugen for that extraordinary potential from the very beginning. Cronus boasts about his glorious past, giving Eugen an idea for his next destination. After thinking carefully, Eugen decides the Myeongdong Gate is the perfect starting point. Confident in his plan, Eugen smirks and prepares to test his newfound abilities. He heads toward the ancient garden, determined to put his new powers into action. Eugen arrives at the ancient garden, where permanent gates connect Earth to dangerous alternate dimensions. Unlike temporary gates, permanent gates remain open and require hunters to clear their dungeons. The system identifies Ancient Garden as a permanent one-star gate with manageable mana concentration. Knowing it's designed for beginners, Eugen confidently approaches the gate to test his new abilities. Recruiters eagerly gather new hunters into parties, but Eugen ignores the familiar scene. As Eugen approaches the gate, a nearby party calls out to recruit him. Their leader warmly invites Eugen to join their team before entering the dungeon. Confident in his own strength, Eugen politely declines and heads toward the gate alone. The party accepts Eugen's decision, though they quietly worry about his reckless confidence. One teammate questions leaving him alone, but the leader respects Eugen's choice. Smirking confidently, Eugen believes clearing a beginner gate alone will be effortless. With unwavering confidence, Eugen prepares to test his newly awakened necromancer abilities. Eugen enters the ancient garden, ready to test his newly awakened necromancer abilities. The peaceful silence feels suspicious as Eugen cautiously advances through the overgrown forest. Expecting danger, Eugen prepares himself for the inevitable monster ambush lurking nearby. Smirking with confidence, Eugen eagerly waits for his first prey to reveal itself. Entering the ancient garden, Eugen cautiously advances, expecting a monster to ambush him anytime. A goblin suddenly leaps from above, screaming wildly as it launches a reckless surprise attack. Eugen calmly sidesteps and slices through the charging goblin with effortless precision and speed. Before the first falls, another goblin lunges forward, attempting to catch Eugen off guard. A skeletal monster attacks alone as Eugen activates White Knight and converts spiritual power into divine energy. Eugen activates Life Drain, but the spell repeatedly fails despite striking the monster. The failed spell shocks Eugen as he realizes divine energy behaves differently from spiritual power. Eugen studies the strange reaction, recognizing his new divine abilities require a completely different approach. Life Drain finally succeeds, draining the goblin's life force as eerie energy flows into Eugen. The goblin collapses lifeless, while its absorbed life force permanently increases Eugen's stats. Eugen excitedly confirms every defeated monster can permanently strengthen his physical abilities. Thrilled by the discovery, he realizes his necromancer build grows stronger with every successful kill. Eugen realizes every 25 goblins defeated equals 1 full level through permanent stat growth. He celebrates the incredible discovery as his rapid progression completely surpasses normal leveling. Cronus watches proudly, amused by Eugen's excitement over his overwhelming new abilities. Encouraged by the results, Eugen eagerly prepares to continue hunting and grow even stronger. Confident in his growing power, Eugen prepares to test his necromancy on the fallen goblin. Dark spiritual energy surges from his hand as he begins casting his resurrection spell. The eerie magic engulfs the goblin's corpse, slowly reacting to Eugen's command. Holding his breath, Eugen watches the lifeless body, waiting for his first undead servant to awaken. Eugen casts Necromancer's call, commanding the fallen goblin to answer his summons. Dark necromantic energy surges through the corpse as its lifeless body suddenly twitches. The goblin's body violently transforms, responding to Eugen's overwhelming spiritual power. Moments later, the resurrected goblin slowly rises, becoming Eugen's very first undead servant. The resurrected goblin rises before Eugen, successfully becoming his very first undead servant. The system confirms the zombie's exceptional quality, granting massive stat increases to its abilities. Pleased with the results, Eugen examines his powerful new undead companion with satisfaction. Confident in its strength, Eugen orders the zombie to carry its own weight in future battles. Eugen confidently advances through the forest with his newly awakened zombie following behind. A group of hostile goblins suddenly emerges, surrounding Eugen from every direction. Calmly assessing the situation, Eugen positions his zombie to face the approaching enemies. Smirking with confidence, Eugen orders his undead servant to begin its very first real battle. Eugen's zombie charges fearlessly toward the goblin pack, launching the first attack without hesitation. It viciously bites into a goblin's neck, drawing blood and stunning the surrounding monsters. The remaining goblins immediately swarm the zombie, attacking together from every direction. Despite the brutal assault, the undead servant continues fighting relentlessly without showing any pain. Eugen mocks the goblins as they fail to bring down his tireless undead servant. The zombie counters fiercely, crushing a goblin with its overwhelming undead resilience. White Knight activates again, permanently increasing Eugen's stats as another enemy falls. Empowered by each kill, the zombie relentlessly overwhelms the remaining goblins without slowing down. The zombie swiftly finishes another goblin, leaving the remaining monsters completely overwhelmed. Curious, Eugen activates Life Drain on the fallen corpse from a safe distance. The absorbed life force instantly flows into Eugen, permanently increasing his physical stats again. Grinning with satisfaction, Eugen realizes Life Drain works on nearby corpses, making his growth even faster. Eugen realizes Life Drain can absorb energy from slain monsters, greatly accelerating his future hunts. More goblins emerge from the shadows as Eugen recalls an old necromancer saying. He confidently prepares another undead servant, proving each successful resurrection becomes significantly easier. Multiple goblin corpses answer Necromancer's call, rapidly expanding Eugen's undead army for battle. Eugen successfully raises 4 powerful zombie goblins, creating an overwhelming undead squad for combat. Thrilled by his growing army, Eugen proudly embraces the true strength of necromancy. He commands his undead soldiers forward as they fiercely charge the remaining goblins. The zombie goblins brutally overwhelm their enemies, tearing through the battlefield with relentless attacks. The zombie goblins mercilessly slaughter their former allies, overwhelming them with brutal teamwork. A surviving goblin freezes in terror as the undead relentlessly close the distance. The zombie suddenly appears behind its frightened prey, leaving no chance for escape. With a savage bite, the undead tears through the goblin, ending the fight instantly. Cronus urges Eugen to maintain composure, explaining true contracts require unwavering focus during battle. Eugen channels necromantic power, rapidly absorbing the battlefield's lingering spiritual energy into himself. Surrounded by countless corpses, he calmly gathers their energy, strengthening himself for future battles. Dark necromantic power swirls around Eugen's hand as another ominous technique begins to awaken. Eugen's undead goblins relentlessly pursue fleeing enemies, forcing the terrified survivors into desperate retreat. The zombie horde closes the distance, overwhelming every escaping goblin with relentless speed. As the undead corner their prey, sudden movement interrupts the one-sided massacre. A mysterious archer appears and unleashes a blazing fire arrow straight toward the battlefield. A blazing arrow instantly kills a goblin, forcing Eugen's undead army to halt. Obeying Eugen's command, the zombie goblins quickly retreat and conceal themselves nearby. Realizing someone else has entered the battlefield, Eugen calmly orders his undead to stay hidden. Mysterious footsteps approach through the forest, revealing an unexpected newcomer closing in. 3 unfamiliar hunters arrive, confronting Eugen and demanding to know his identity. Cronus recognizes them immediately, leaving Eugen visibly surprised by their sudden appearance. Eugen realizes the newcomers are the infamous Mirror Hunters, the group he remembers all too well. Dark memories resurface as he recalls they were the assassins responsible for ending his previous life. Renowned as the twin shadow hunters, Yuma and Yuka Rendo had built a formidable reputation together. Remembering how troublesome they had been in the past, Roman studies them carefully but notices that neither appears particularly strong. He soon realizes this is because both hunters are still only one-star warriors. He also recalls that there had been only 2 of them back then, not 3. Although Roman briefly considers eliminating them before they can become future threats, he dismisses the idea. After all, they merely accepted an assassination request, so treating them as personal enemies would be unreasonable. One of the hunters cautiously asks whether Roman is controlling the nearby zombie. Roman realizes that necromancers have not yet become widely known, meaning his abilities are still unfamiliar to most people. He calmly confirms that the zombie is one of his summons, while several undead creatures gather obediently around him. The revelation instantly puts the hunters on edge as they stare at Roman with newfound alarm. Realizing that most hunters are motivated by money, Roman decides they would make perfect carriers for the loot he collects. With that in mind, he suddenly offers the group a chance to work with him, catching them completely off guard. Roman proposes handling all the enemies himself while they gather the magic stones. In return, they will divide the earnings on an 80-20 basis, allowing the hunters to make easy money. Intrigued by the unexpected offer, the hunters begin seriously considering Roman's proposal. The hunters quietly debate Roman's proposal, with some warning that they cannot trust a stranger capable of summoning zombies. As their suspicious whispers continue, Roman waits patiently for them to reach a decision. However, their discussion drags on for so long that he gradually begins losing his patience. Before Roman can interrupt, the group finally makes up its mind and agrees to work with him. Despite accepting the partnership, the hunters attempt to renegotiate the reward and demand an equal split, arguing that Roman's original terms would leave each of them with very little. Roman refuses to divide the profits evenly and makes a final offer of 70-30, leaving them no choice but to accept if they wish to continue. Although Habara remains uneasy about trusting Roman, the group's leader orders him to stop acting afraid. He reasons that Roman entered the gate without any equipment and still carries himself with absolute confidence. If Roman truly intended to harm them, they would already be dead. With the agreement settled, Roman leads the way alongside his undead summons, while the hunters follow in hopes of earning more than they normally would. However, the group soon finds itself completely drained by the relentless pace of the expedition. After gathering magic stones without rest, Habara finally collapses from exhaustion and begs for a break. Yuka is equally worn out and admits that she has also reached her absolute limit. While the exhausted hunters struggle to recover, their leader adds another magic stone to the enormous pile they have already collected. Observing Roman from a distance, he admits that he knew the stranger was no ordinary hunter. Even so, the sheer number of monsters Roman and his summons have slaughtered far exceeds anything he imagined. Roman remains completely unfazed and continues searching the battlefield, casually discovering even more valuable corpses to add to his forces. Overwhelmed by the non-stop work, the hunter's leader cautiously suggests that the group should take a break soon. Roman's undead summons ignore their exhaustion and continue tearing through the remaining monsters without slowing down. As soon as another enemy falls, Roman points out the fresh corpse and directs the hunters toward their next collection. Noticing their weary expressions, he cheerfully tells them to take their time, leaving the exhausted group too stunned to respond. Completely overwhelmed by Roman's tireless pace, the exhausted hunters begin wondering whether he is even human. Meanwhile, Roman surveys the monster corpses scattered across the forest and realizes that his undead army has nearly cleared the entire area. With the battle temporarily under control, he decides to check how much his abilities have improved. His status reveals remarkable growth, with his strength, agility, vitality, endurance, and holy power all increasing significantly. Roman marvels at the efficiency of life drain, which has raised his total stats by 21.2 points in only 3 hours and brought his abilities close to those of a level 4 hunter. Having also gained another level, he decides that he is finally strong enough to advance deeper into the gate. Confident in his rapid growth, Roman sets his sights on hunting down the dungeon boss. At his command, the undead scouts reveal a fortified goblin settlement ahead, where numerous enemies stand guard. From within the settlement, the goblins notice Roman's arrival and dismiss him as a foolish human who has wandered into their territory. Unaware that he is being watched, Roman mocks the goblin perched above the others for arrogantly acting like a king. Yuka quickly warns him that the creature is the goblin shaman, the boss of the southern region, and advises him not to provoke it. Enraged by Roman's disrespect, the goblin shaman orders its warriors to subdue him and drag him forward on his knees. Obeying the goblin shaman's command, a horde of armed goblins charges directly toward Roman. Roman remains completely calm and sends his undead summons forward with orders to tear the attackers apart. The two forces collide violently, but Roman's undead immediately overwhelm the front line and drag the goblins into close combat. Even as one goblin desperately raises its weapon to strike, a summon lunges in and tears into it before it can attack. Amid the chaotic battle, one of the goblins manages to land a devastating blow on Roman's undead summon. The creature collapses, causing Roman's number of active familiars to drop from 20 to 19. Rather than showing concern, Roman immediately uses his necromantic power and commands the fallen summon to answer his call once again. Moments later, the corpse's fingers begin to twitch, signaling that it is already returning to battle. Roman successfully revives the fallen creature, restoring his undead army to its full capacity of 20 summons. The reanimated familiar immediately rises and catches the nearby goblin completely off guard. Before the enemy can react, the undead creature launches a brutal counterattack and brings it down. Watching the battle unfold, the hunters finally realize why Roman remains unfazed. Despite being outnumbered, he can transform the fallen corpses into new summons. Seeing his warriors fall one after another, the goblin shaman reaches for a hidden skeletal totem. Raising his skull-tipped staff, he chants an incantation and unleashes a powerful support spell. The Totem of Valor erupts from the ground, spreading an ominous aura that strengthens and inspires every goblin nearby. Empowered by the totem, the goblin warriors regain their fighting spirit and advance with renewed ferocity. As several totems of valor rise across the battlefield, their power begins spreading throughout the goblin army. Roman reacts immediately, ordering his undead summons to attack the totems before their effects can take hold. Refusing to let the goblin shaman strengthen his forces, Roman's familiars smash through the summon structures one after another. With his strategy destroyed almost instantly, the goblin shaman begins trembling as he realizes Roman has completely neutralized his advantage. Skeletal weapons suddenly erupt from the ground as his undead prepare for battle. Zombie effortlessly blocks the goblin's attack, protecting its master without hesitation. Another undead counters with a crushing strike, forcing the goblin backward instantly. Watching from afar, the hidden hunters silently observe the strange battle unfolding. Seeing the goblin shaman's growing frustration, Roman calmly taunts him for losing control of the battle. Furious at being mocked, the goblin shaman tightens his grip on the skull-tipped staff and prepares a desperate spell. He unleashes the Curse of Madness, flooding the surrounding area with a violent wave of corrupting energy. The curse immediately strikes the hunters, leaving them disoriented and struggling against its overwhelming effects. Under the Curse of Madness, the goblins enter a berserk state as their strength and agility surge by 50%. With their enhanced speed and power, they tear through Roman's front line and reduce his active summons from 20 to 19. The empowered goblins continue their relentless assault, rapidly cutting the number of familiars from 18 to 15. As the slaughter intensifies, Roman's undead army is soon reduced to only 10 remaining summons. The berserk goblins continue cutting down Roman's familiars, reducing his remaining forces from 10 to 8. Rather than panicking, Roman studies the situation and realizes that the goblin shaman's staff is the source of the curse and his true trump card. Believing victory is near, the goblin shaman proudly reveals that the weapon is a bone staff infused with the grudges of countless goblins. Upon hearing that the staff is made of bone, Roman's expression shifts as he realizes it may also be vulnerable to his necromantic power. Once Roman confirms the staff's composition, he realizes the battle has suddenly become much easier to win. He activates bone control and extends his necromantic influence toward the goblin shaman's weapon. The staff begins violently shaking in the shaman's hands, leaving him confused as he struggles to maintain his grip. Unable to resist Roman's power, the bone staff tears itself free and flies directly toward him. Roman effortlessly catches the stolen staff, immediately interrupting the Curse of Madness that had empowered the goblins. Left empty-handed, the goblin shaman stares at Roman in disbelief and struggles to understand how his weapon was taken. As the goblins awaken from their madness, the curse's recoil takes effect and reduces their strength and agility by 30%. Now holding the goblin shaman's most valuable weapon, Roman mockingly invites him to try casting the curse again.